Liza, Dale, and Abigail. Let's go.
Welcome to Science. Let's start with our water cycle song. Stand. Water travels in a cycle, yes it does. Water travels in a cycle, yes it does. It goes up in evaporation, forms clouds of condensation, falls down in precipitation, yes it does. As we learned about the water cycle, we saw that God's design in our world was perfect. He also created our earth to have 3 layers. What do we call the outside layer, Dev?
Crust.
Good.
Crust.
What do we call the middle? It has the magma.
Mantle.
Carson?
Mantle.
Good. And what do we call the innermost pot? It is the hottest. Caden?
The core.
Yes. Now
Core.
let's have Una go be scorekeeper for the girls and Jacob scorekeeper for the boys. We're going to go around our classroom to see who remembers their facts really well, the girls team or the boys team. And our first girl and boy, Jimmy and Madison, my stand. Students watching, you be ready to give me these answers as well. So first question, what is the imaginary line around the earth between the north and the south poles?
Equators.
Yes, a tie. Both teams may get a point. Next two. What do we call the layer of rock below the subsoil? It is part of the earth's crust.
Bedrock.
Good, Presley. Next two. What is the hot liquid rock in the middle of the earth called?
Magma.
Yes, good. What is the instrument that uses magnetized needles called?
Compass.
It is a compass. Way to think, Arthur, Carson, and Morgan. Which direction will a compass always point? Yes, make sure you wait. Both teams a point. Aiden and Carly. Where is the earth the coldest? At its what?
Poles.
Poles. Good, Carly. Well done. Next two. Where is the earth the warmest?
By the equator.
Yes, good, Dev. Amaya and Caden. What is the outer layer of the earth called?
Crust.
Boys. Anna and Josh. What is the middle layer? It's found between the core and the crust.
Mantle.
Girls were a hair faster. Next two. Asa and Lexi. What is the inner part of the earth? It is the hottest.
Core.
Girls were a hair faster. Next two. Jimmy and Madison. How many oceans on the earth are there?
5.
Girls. Next two. How many continents?
7.
Girls. Next two. What is a substance or material in the earth that was never alive? Things like diamond, salt.
Humus.
Students watching. Anyone? Morgan?
Material.
Dev?
Mineral.
A mineral is the correct answer. So boys have that point. Next two. What do we call decayed material in the soil?
Mineral.
Students watching. Anyone? Emily?
Humus.
Humus is the correct answer. So let's have Carson and Morgan. What type of soil is able to produce many healthy plants? Students watching. Anyone? Asa?
Fertilizer.
Fertile soil is correct. So Aiden and Carly. What is the top layer of soil?
Topsoil.
Girls have it. Dev and Kathleen. What is the layer of soil below the topsoil?
Subsoil.
Girls. Next to Amaya and Caden. What do we call planting different crops, kinds of crops from year to year?
Rotating.
Boys were a hair faster. Good thinking to Amaya. Josh and Anna. What is a ditch formed by soil erosion? Students watching. Anyone? Dev?
Gully.
A gully is correct. Asa Lexi. What is loss of soil by water or wind called? Students watching. Anyone? Carson?
Soil erosion.
Soil erosion is the correct answer. Good thinking, Carson. Jimmy and Madison next. What is different minerals and nutrients added to the soil called?
Fertile.
Yes, fertile or fertilizer would be different minerals and nutrients that are added to the soil. Next two. What is soil which helps plants go well called?
Fertile.
Fertile soil, right, good. Next two. What do we call taking care of soil?
Soil. Comprehension.
You've got it. I'll give both of you a point. Emily started and Jackson finished. The complete answer is soil conservation. What do we call the natural formation of rock or soil on the Earth's surface?
Bedrock.
It could be a mountain. It could be a hill. What was it, Arthur? Landform. So Arthur gets that point for the boys. Carson and Morgan. What is precipitation on land which trickles into streams called?
Rain. Droplets.
Students watching? Anyone? Josh? Anna?
Waterfall.
Close. Caden?
Mouth.
Deb?
Source.
Emily? Have a seat. It would be water runoff. Let's say that, class. Water runoff. Good. Next, girl and boys. So Aiden and Carly. What do we call the forming of soil from rock as it breaks down? Usually by water or wind. Students watching? Anyone? Caden? Anna?
Soil.
Deb?
Soil erosion.
Emily?
Weathering.
Weathering is the correct answer. Nice job. Deb and Kathleen. Name one landform.
Mountain.
Yes, good, Kathleen. Amaya and Caden. What do we call the part of a river which flows into the ocean?
Source. Mouth.
Mouth. Caden is right. Anna and Josh. What is a landform at the mouth of a river that has deposited soil and sand that's usually rich in nutrients and minerals? Students watching? Anyone? Tyra? Arthur? Adriana? Carson?
Delta.
Delta. That's the river's delta. Next two. The beginning of a river is called the river's what?
Mouth.
Think beginning.
Source.
Source is correct. No points because it was a second answer. Next to Jimmy and Madison. What is a place in the earth where magma can erupt as lava?
Volcano.
Volcano. Boys were a hair faster. Next to melted rock that flows from a volcano is called?
Lava.
Tie. Both teams a point. Well done. What is the shaking of the earth's crust?
Earthquake.
Boys, nice job. Next two. What is the break between two of the earth's plates where the earthquake can happen? Students watching? Anyone? Caden? Carson?
Landslide.
Adriana? It is a fault. If you said fault, students watching, you are correct. So next two. What is a large mass of rock or soil from a mountain or a cliff that moves? Students watching? Anyone? Anna?
Landslide.
It is a landslide. Next two. This will be the last question. What do we call something like a mountain, hill, plateau, valley, canyon, lake, river bed, plain, or an island?
Landform.
Yes, Carly has a point. Let's take a look at the score. For the boys, we have 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. For the girls, we have 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, which makes the boys the winner by 1. So boys, you may give yourself a silent cheer. Keepers may return to your seats as well. Now, we've talked about, or we are talking about, the earth and how God has formed our earth. A geologist is a scientist that studies the matter that makes up the earth. So if you have ever gone into your backyard, or maybe you've been on a hike and you have collected things along your hike, like rocks and stones, you could be considered a geologist as you study those things. We're going to learn more about that today as we read. Let's take a look at some words to watch for before we begin reading. Read our first word to watch for, Caden.
Cement.
Very close, 3 syllables.
Sediment.
Yes, sediment. That's part of the soil. We're going to talk about which part as we read. And read our next word, Anna.
Limestone.
Yes, Asa.
Stewardship.
Yes, stewardship is a good character quality we'll talk more about as we read. And Emily?
Natural resource.
Yes, we'll find out what some of those are as we begin reading. Open your book to page 98. Page 98. Let's have Madison, Adriana, Jacob, and Emily come to be ready to read for us. As we get ready to read, on page 98, we're starting in the middle with the terms to remember. We're going to take a look at those terms and their definitions before we begin. So Emily, come and start reading with sediment for us.
Sediment, the matter that settles to the bottom of a liquid. Stewardship, taking wise care of what God has given. Kinds of rock. Have you ever had a rock collection? Maybe it is time to start. If you explore your backyard, you may find many different kinds of rocks. Rocks are made of natural material. A rock can be as small as a pebble or as large as a boulder.
Good smoothness. Let's pause right there, rest your books. Give me a big smile if you've started a rock collection. I see several of you have. Maybe you enjoy hiking and looking for those different types of rocks. Well, a rock is a natural resource. What do we mean when we say a natural resource? Where it's something that we can find as a natural thing. When we go out and look in the nature that God has created, we can find that rock. It's already there. It was created by God, or through the flood, God had that formed. So that is something that naturally occurs. It's a natural resource. Books up. Let's find out about a couple ways that these rocks can be formed. Continuous. Some rocks are made. Madison.
Some rocks are made by heat. Do you remember what erupts out of volcanoes? Magma turns into lava, which cools and makes different kinds of rock. Some rocks are made of sediment. Sediment is the matter that settles to the bottom of a liquid. Minerals and tiny pieces of sand can settle at the bottom of a body of water. When it does, it settles in layers. If sediment hardens under pressure, it can turn into rock.
Good expression. Rest your books. So some rocks are made by heat. As lava comes out of a volcano and flows down, it will cool. When it cools, it will harden into a rock. So some rock has been formed through the hardening of that lava. So that's how some rock would be formed, through heat. Others will form as layers of sediment settle. Look at the picture in your book. There you see a jar that has different kinds of sediment and sand in it and different minerals. And you can see that as it settles, different layers are formed. Some of the denser, the thicker layers are at the bottom. Some of the lighter, less dense layers are towards the top. Well, if this sediment were to become harder because of pressure added to it, it would also turn into rock. Let's continue reading about a couple more types of that rock that can form. Books up, continue reading for us. Adriana, some rocks.
Some rocks can even change into another kind of rock. If a rock is under enough pressure or heated, it becomes harder. Marble was once limestone, but heat and pressure hardened it to be the beautiful rock that it is today.
Good smoothness. Rest your book. So limestone that has heat and pressure added to it becomes marble. Smile if you have seen something made of marble before. Maybe a countertop or some type of rock you may have found that also had marble with it. That was formed from limestone. When that heat and pressure are added to it, then it changes that form into that next type of rock. So rock can form from heat, from pressure, from different materials that have hardened over time. Look at that picture. There you see some of that limestone and some of that rock that's mined and some of that marble that has come as a result of that heat and pressure added to it. Let's look at something to try. Start a rock collection. Can you organize? Let's read what we're going to need. Do that for us, Jacob, and then what to do.
Egg carton, assortment of rocks. Gather rocks from your yard, the park, or nature walks. Or to organize them in the egg carton by color, texture, or size.
Good accuracy. So you can do that as you take a walk, as you go exploring in your backyard or a park. Take a look at some of those rocks. Find some that are very interesting. Put them in that egg carton, and then you can compare them. What is the difference in their size, their color, their shape, and their texture? And that would be exploring the earth. You would be a geologist as you explore and take a note of those things that you find. Let's take a closer look at how we can take care of the things that God has given us. How can we be a good steward? Books up as we read, and let's have Carson, Aiden, and Morgan come read for us. Stewardship. Carson, you may begin for us.
Stewardship. When God created the earth, he made a planet like no other. Not only does it have beautiful, unique features, it is also rich in resources. God provided natural resources to meet our needs. He gave us water, the right kind of air, good soil for growing food, energy sources, and building materials.
Great expression. Let's pause and think about what Carson just read. So those resources are things like water, things like the air that we have to enjoy, things such as the soil that helps us to grow our food, energy resources that come from the sun and light and heat, and then building materials that we can find out in nature. Those all are natural resources that God has given to us. So because it's a gift, we need to take care of it. Just as if you were given a birthday gift or a Christmas gift or another fun present, you would want to take care of that thing and make sure that nothing happens to it, where it doesn't get broken or lost or destroyed. How do we make sure that we do the right things with the things that God has given to us? Let's read more about it. Continue with reading. God tells us to. Aiden?
God tells us to use the resources he gives wisely. Taking wise care of what God has given us is called stewardship.
Good smoothness. Continue, Morgan.
There are many ways to be a good steward of God's creation. Conserve resources like soil, water, and energy sources by using them wisely. Think before you throw something away. Some things can be recycled, repurposed, or reused. What can you do today to be a good steward of the resources God has given?
Good expression. Let's talk about some of these things. Rest your books. So in order to be a good steward, we need to take care of the resources that God has given us. We want to conserve or save the resources as we can. Like soil, we don't want to be wasteful with it. That's why farmers rotate their crops, because they don't want to be wasteful with their soil. With water, we want to use it wisely. Don't use too much. Use just what is needed. Yes, we have a lot of it, but that doesn't mean we can be wasteful with it. We want to use just the amount we need. We need to take care of it and not be wasteful. Use our other energy resources wisely. Things that God has given us and allowed us to use that have been created. We don't want to use more than is needed. So we want to use just what we need without being wasteful. Some things like plastics and papers can be recycled or used over again. So if we can use them over again, we want to do that. So we're being wise with them. Something that's repurposed is used again for another purpose. So if we can find another way to use that same material, that's being very wise with that resources. Some we can use again. So make sure that we're not being wasteful is being a good steward of the things that God has given us. Now, take out a pencil. Let's look at our comprehension check together. We're going to talk through several of these questions. With true and false, we're going to look at the words or the sentences, and something that is true, we'll write true. Something that's false, we will write false, and think carefully about the underlined words. So number 1, lava is harmful to the soil. Is that true or false, Adriana?
False.
False, because it's not harmful. It is what, Anna?
It's helpful.
It is helpful. Number 2, lava can turn into kinds of rock. Carson?
True.
You've got it. Number 3, a volcano can quickly form a mountain or island. Una?
True.
True. Number 4, a fault is where earthquakes are most likely to happen. Emily?
True.
You've got it. Number 5, rocks are made of natural material. Jimmy?
False.
It is true. It is a natural resource, so it's true. Number 6, magma is the matter that settles to the bottom of a liquid. Kaden?
False.
False. What settles to the bottom of a liquid? What do we call that material? Morgan? Jacob? Emily?
Sediment.
Sediment. Think about sediment settles. So those two words that go together, sediment settles. Once you finish that last answer, go ahead and put your pencil down. Let's look at be a scientist. We're going to talk about some of these things together. Practice the scientific method with mixtures in sediment. Can you find sediment in a body of water? Let's find out what we're going to need and then what we will do. Kaden, come read what we are going to need.